Virgin Islands, the most expensive islands in the Caribbean. Welcome to the U.S. Virgin Islands, a place where the sun rises first on America, wild donkeys roam free, and pigs drink beer in the rainforest. But beneath the paradise, you'll find secrets that most tourists and even Americans have never heard of. From underwater trails to the world's only sand-floored synagogue, these islands are a living, breathing storybook. Every corner hides a jaw-dropping surprise, and it's time you discovered them. Here are 15 unbelievable facts that will change the way you see the U.S. Virgin Islands forever. Due to limited access to original video and photo materials from the U.S. Virgin Islands, some visuals in this video have been substituted with representative images. Please note that nothing in this video, including the cover image, is intended to disrespect, misrepresent, or portray the people of the Virgin Islands negatively in any way. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment below. Your support means the world to us. 1. Life in the left lane. It's an American territory where you drive on the left side of the road, a quirk that catches every newcomer off guard. In the U.S. Virgin Islands, USVI, cars keep left, even though nearly all vehicles have left-hand steering like on the mainland. Why? Local lore offers colorful theories. Some say donkeys learn to pass on the left on steep island trails. Others joke it's a trick on tourists. Historically, the custom harks back to the 18th century Danish and British influence. When the U.S. purchased the islands in 1917, switching sides would have been costly and disruptive, so the left-hand tradition stuck. Today, keep left signs and windshield stickers remind drivers of this island oddity. Visitors soon embrace life in the left lane, honking friendly greetings on hairpin turns and marveling that in this U.S. paradise, even the rules of the road come with a twist of Caribbean culture. 2. Water Island, the last virgin. Not all of the USVI joined America in 1917. Water Island, a 491-acre speck off St. Thomas, remained privately owned until the U.S. bought it during Hunt for just $10 thousands. The military tunneled into its hills to build Fort Sagara, intended to guard against German U-boats. The war ended, and the half-finished fort's eerie underground chambers still linger. In a secretive chapter of history, the Army even used parts of Water Island to test chemical warfare agents. Decades later, on December 12, 1996, Water Island was finally transferred to the USVI government, making it the fourth virgin and the newest addition to the territory. Residents who had leased land there were suddenly able to buy their plots. Today, Water Island is a quiet retreat of beaches and cottages. Few visitors realize this tranquil isle was the last piece of the Virgin Islands puzzle. A former military outpost turned peaceful community, carrying stories of war tunnels and delayed homecomings. 3. America's first sunrise point, Udall. At the far eastern tip of St. Croix, a dramatic promontory called Point Udall greets the first rays of U.S. sunshine each day. This windswept cliff is recognized as the easternmost point under the American flag by travel. In 2000, a stone sundial known as the Millennium Monument was erected here to mark the very first U.S. sunrise of the new millennium. The point was named in honor of Stuart Udall, a former Interior Secretary in 1969. Fittingly, his brother Mo Udall lent his name to Guam's westernmost point, so that America's day would begin and end at a Point Udall, as one congressman quipped. Standing atop Point Udall at dawn with waves crashing 200 feet below, you feel a world away from the mainland. It's a favorite spot for New Year's revelers to toast a first light celebration. As President Clinton noted, the sun will never set on the legacy of Mo Udall, and indeed at St. Croix Point Udall, the sun's journey across America truly begins. 4. An underwater national park trail. Imagine snorkeling through an underwater garden with a map of coral and fish to guide you. At St. Croix Buck Island Reef National Monument, this is reality home to the first underwater snorkeling trail in the U.S. park system. Beneath crystal-clear turquoise waters lies a marked path winding past vibrant elkhorn coral formations and schools of rainbow-colored fish. Since 1962, snorkelers have been following submerged plaques that identify reef creatures, essentially a hiking trail on the seafloor. Buck Island's reef was so unique that President John F. Kennedy designated it a protected monument, calling it one of the finest marine gardens in the Caribbean Sea. The coral barrier reef encircling the island creates a sheltered lagoon teeming with over 250 fish species and other marine life. Sea turtles glide by, and snorkelers often find themselves finning alongside gentle barracuda or rays. Above the waves, Buck Island itself is uninhabited and rimmed with white sand beaches, but it's the underwater world that steals the show. This living coral labyrinth, complete with its own underwater trail, offers a magical, educational adventure found in few places on Earth. 5. Ghosts of the deep sunken slave ships. Beneath the waters off Buck Island lie the haunting remains of a tragic history. In the late 18th and early 19th centuries, at least 2 European slave ships wrecked on the reefs near St. Croix, the Mary in 1797 and the General Abercrombie in 1803. These ships, carrying captive Africans across the Middle Passage, met their end on the treacherous coral that now draws snorkelers. While many enslaved people perished in such wrecks, there are accounts that survivors of these 2 ships made it to Buck Island's shores. Archaeologists with the Slave Wrecks Project have combed the seabed using magnetometers to pinpoint any remnants of the vessels. They found historic anchors and debris, but definitive proof of the Mary and Abercrombie remains elusive, as if the sea keeps some secrets to itself. Even without visible ship timbers, the knowledge of their presence lends a solemn depth to these waters. Divers and historians alike regard Buck Island's marine sanctuary as not just a natural wonder, but a submerged memorial. In the rusting cannons and ballast stones scattered on the sand, one can almost hear echoes of souls long ago, transforming a routine dive into a poignant journey through the tides of time. 6. Quelbe music made from scrap and spirit. Before radios and streaming, the Virgin Islands had Quelbe, a homegrown folk music born in the days of sugar plantations and persevering to this day, played on improvised instruments. Imagine a banjo fashioned from a sardine can, gourds scraped with combs, and even someone blowing into a car exhaust pipe for a bass line. Quelbe's raw, rhythmic sound is utterly unique. Also called scratch band music, it evolved when enslaved Africans, denied drums, repurposed whatever they could find to make music. They wove humorous, scandalous, and storytelling lyrics into lively melodies, creating songs as community news and oral history. One famous Quelbe song, La Bega Carousel, still sung today, tells of laborers protesting low wages in early 1900s St. Croix. In this way, Quelbe became the voice of the people, witty, resilient, and real. Fast forward to 2004. Recognizing its cultural value, the Virgin Islands legislature declared Quelbe the official music of the territory. Today, bands like the legendary 10 Sleepless Nights keep the tradition alive with upbeat quadrille dances and saucy verses that make elders smile and youngsters blush. Listening to Quelbe, you tap your feet to more than just music. You're tapping into centuries of Caribbean spirit, ingenuity, and storytelling. 7. Hurricane Hugo and the NBA legend. In 1989, a catastrophic Category 4 storm named Hurricane Hugo ravaged St. Croix and unwittingly altered the course of sports history. A tall, shy Crucian teenager named Tim Duncan had been training tirelessly to become an Olympic swimmer, just like his big sister. But Hugo's 200 kph winds destroyed the island's only Olympic-sized pool, leaving young Tim with nowhere to swim but the unpredictable ocean. Terrified of sharks and frustrated, the 14-year-old gave up his aquatic dreams. Instead, he picked up a basketball. What began as a hurricane-forced hobby turned out to reveal a prodigy. Duncan honed his skills on St. Croix's courts, then at Wake Forest University, and eventually became the NBA's #1 draft pick in 1997. He would go on to lead the San Antonio Spurs to 5 championships and earn the reputation as one of the greatest power forwards of all time. The irony is epic. Had the tempest not struck, Tim Duncan might have remained a swimmer unknown to the wider world. Hugo literally blew him off one path and onto another. Today, Islanders recount this story with pride, how a fateful storm forged an NBA legend, turning devastation into destiny. 8. Tropical Winter Olympians. The idea of a tropical islander competing in the Winter Olympics sounds like a movie plot. and in the USVI, it's real life. The Virgin Islands, better known for palm trees than pistes, have sent athletes to 7 Winter Games since 1988. One trailblazer was Seba Johnson, a St. Thomian who in 1988 became the first black woman ever to ski in the Olympics. Remarkably, she was just 14, zooming down the slopes of Calgary while her fellow students back home probably had never even seen snow. Then there's Anne Grandma Luge Abernathy, a St. Croix athlete who took up luge, the high-speed sledding sport, and went on to compete in 6 Winter Olympics well into her 50s, earning her nickname as the oldest female Olympian in history. In 2002, another Virgin Islander, Dinah Brown, made history as the first black woman to compete in Olympic luge, representing Team ISV. The spectacle of athletes bearing the blue and white Virgin Islands flag in a sea of winter parkas never fails to amaze TV viewers. Back home, Islanders stay up late to watch these unlikely heroes, cheering as loudly for a courageous finish as they would for a medal. It's a testament to the island's spirit. No bobsled track or snowy mountain? No problem, they'll still find a way to glide into the record books. 9. Americans without a vote. Over 100,000 people live in the U.S. Virgin Islands, proudly carrying U.S. passports, yet they face a democratic paradox. They cannot vote for the U.S. president. As an unincorporated territory, the USVI has no representation in the Electoral College. Islanders do elect a local governor and legislature and send a delegate to Congress, but that delegate can't cast full votes on the House floor. USVI residents can participate in presidential primaries, contributing to nominating candidates, but come November general elections, their ballots stop at governor. This political limbo, shared by fellow territories like Puerto Rico and Guam, is often summed up as taxation without representation. Virgin Islanders pay federal taxes, though not all types, serve in the U.S. military at high rates, and have shed blood in America's wars, yet have no say in choosing the commander-in-chief or voting senators. Many find this frustrating, a lingering colonial-era holdover. Court challenges have been made and local activists push for equal rights, but change is slow. So every 4 years, election night in the USVI is a bittersweet affair. Islanders wave American flags and watch the returns with hope, even knowing that their own voices, for now, remain unheard in that final count. 10. A billionaire's gift to forever preserve paradise. Nearly 2/3 of the island of St. John is a national park, an emerald wilderness of hills, beaches, and coral reefs. This didn't happen by accident. In the 1950s, Laurance Rockefeller, heir to one of America's great fortunes, fell in love with St. John's beauty and worried it would be ruined by development. So this visionary did something radical. He purchased about 5,000 acres of the island and then donated it to the U.S. government to establish Virgin Islands National Park in 1956. At the time, such a vast Caribbean conservation area was unheard of. Rockefeller's donated land included pristine beaches like Trunk Bay and Cinnamon Bay, plus lush subtropical forests, all now protected for the public and future generations. He even helped design eco-friendly lodgings, like the famous Canil Bay Resort, to prove tourism could coexist with nature. Thanks to this incredible act of philanthropy, St. John remains a tranquil paradise where wild donkeys roam and hikers can wander from mountain to sea without ever leaving parkland. The reefs offshore are similarly safeguarded. To this day, visitors snorkeling or walking through St. John's untouched splendor often have no idea they owe their experience to a single man's foresight. Rockefeller's gift ensured that America's paradise would stay paradise, an enduring example of conservation at its finest. 11. Beer-drinking pigs of the rainforest. Deep in the dense rainforest of St. Croix, there's a raucous bar where the most famous patrons weigh 500 pounds and guzzle beer pigs that drink non-alcoholic beer straight from the can. Yes, this legendary oddity lives at the Montpellier Domino Club, aka the Jungle Bar, run by longtime owners Norma and George. The tradition began decades ago when a thirsty hog named Buster snatched a visitor's brewski and slurped it down, delighting onlookers. Sensing they had a hit, the owners started offering beers to their porky friends for entertainment. Over the years, Buster's successors, today a hulking hog named Kevin Bacon among them, happily chomp down cans of Udalls or other suds, crushing them with their mighty jaws and guzzling the foamy contents as cameras flash. A beer-loving pig at St. Croix's Domino Club eagerly chugs a cold one, non-alcoholic, crunching the can with gusto. Visitors from around the world trek to this jungle watering hole to have a brew with the pigs, making it one of the island's quirkiest attractions. Amid the ferns and kalalu trees, you'll hear the contented grunts of pigs and the laughter of patrons watching this only in St. Croix spectacle. It's a bizarre, hilarious slice of island life that proves truth is stranger and funnier than fiction. 12. Wild donkeys of St. John. In St. John, you might come upon a scene straight out of a storybook. Feral donkeys strolling casually through town or even sunbathing on the beach. These friendly but freewheeling burros are descendants of the beasts of burden brought centuries ago to work sugar plantations. When slavery was abolished in the 1840s, plantation donkeys were turned loose into the wild. For a time, locals still used a few for transport or hauling goods, but as cars arrived in the mid-20th century, the remaining domesticated donkeys were set free as well. Today, an estimated 60 or so donkeys wander St. John's hills and roads in small bands. They've charmed their way into island lore, known for blocking traffic until they're good and ready to move, and for poking their heads into car windows hoping for snacks. Curious trio of St. John's wild donkeys approaches the roadside, a common sight on the island's quiet lanes. Tourists inevitably melt at the sight of a fuzzy foal trotting behind its mother, and the donkeys generally tolerate petting, though experts advise against feeding them. Their favorite hangouts include Coral Bay and some North Shore beaches. Yes, you might have to share your picnic with a persistent long-eared visitor. The national park sometimes considers population control to protect vegetation, but many locals see the donkeys as island icons. These gentle wanderers are living links to St. John's past, adding a touch of whimsy to every encounter. 13. African Baobabs, living legends of St. Croix. Scattered across St. Croix's landscape are a few enormous, gnarled trees that look like they belong in an African savanna, which, in fact, they do. These are baobab trees, some over 250 years old, lovingly called Guinea almond or monkey bread trees by locals. How did an African baobab take root in the Caribbean? The story carries the weight of history. Enslaved West Africans, torn from their homeland, brought baobab seeds with them during the 1700s, perhaps as spiritual tokens or hopeful reminders of home. Planting those seeds in St. Croix's soil, they unknowingly created living memorials. Today, the largest baobab, with a trunk circumference of nearly 50 feet, stands in Grove Place on St. Croix, believed to be the oldest in the Western Hemisphere. These trees are survivors. They've endured countless hurricanes and droughts. Baobabs store water in their stout trunks and bloom with white, bat-pollinated flowers at night. Historically, their fruit and bark were used as medicine and food. Local lore even suggests communal gatherings or informal courts under their massive canopies during Danish times. To see a St. Croix baobab is to behold a piece of Africa thriving in the Americas, a silent witness to the resilience of a people. Towering and otherworldly, the baobabs remind all who pass of the cultural roots that slavery could not sever, literally embedding African heritage in the island's very soil. 14. The sand-floored Synagogue of St. Thomas. Tucked on a back street of Charlotte Amalie St. Thomas is a small white synagogue with an astonishing distinction. It's the oldest synagogue in continuous use under the U.S. flag, and one of only 5 in the world with a sand floor. The St. Thomas Synagogue, built in 1833 by Sephardic Jewish settlers, stands as a testament to the island's surprising religious diversity. Its floor is covered in fine sand, a tradition said to honor the memory of secret Jews, crypto-Jews, who, during the Spanish Inquisition, would muffle their prayers by spreading sand on floors of their hiding places. Stepping inside, you feel history alive. Sunlight filters through stained glass onto mahogany pews. The sand softens your footsteps. This congregation actually dates back to 1796, when Jewish merchants, many from Curaçao and before that Spain, Portugal, made St. Thomas home. Through prosperity and hardship, including fires and hurricanes, they rebuilt and persisted. Today, the synagogue, officially called Baracha Veshalom Vegmiluth Hasidim, welcomes visitors with open arms. Guides proudly explain how it's the second oldest synagogue in the Western Hemisphere and share the tale behind the sand's symbolism. In a predominantly Christian region, this sacred space is a poignant reminder of the cultural mosaic of the Virgin Islands, where Jews, Christians, Hindu Indians, Muslims, and others have all left their mark. The sand on the floor connects those praying today with those who prayed in secret centuries ago, bridging worlds in a single silent gesture. 15. A mega refinery on a tiny island. It's hard to imagine heavy industry in paradise, but for decades, the island of St. Croix boasted one of the world's largest oil refineries. In the 1960s, amidst the Cold War and an oil boom, U.S. firm Hess Corporation built a massive refinery on St. Croix's south shore. By 1974, it had expanded to process a staggering 650,000 barrels of crude per day, ranking it among the top 10 biggest refineries on the planet. Locally known first as Hovik and later Hovensa, the sprawling complex of towers, tanks, and flame-tipped stacks was so huge, it felt like a city within the island. It provided thousands of jobs and, at its height, contributed heavily to the territory's economy, but also generated pollution and odors quite at odds with postcard images of the USVI. Many a cruisan remembers the glow of the refinery lights at night and the occasional sulfur rain when emissions woes struck. Hovensa eventually shut down in 2012 after economic downturns and EPA fines for pollution. A later attempt to restart it as Lime Tree Bay Refinery faltered by 2021. Today, the site mostly serves as an oil storage terminal. Its remaining rust-stained structures stand as a monument to an era when a tropical isle played an outsized role in the global oil industry. For those who only know the USVI for beaches, the notion of an industrial giant in paradise is truly mind-blowing. Yet for a generation of St. Croix families, it was the source of livelihoods and a chapter of island history not to be forgotten. Bonus: living in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Life in the U.S. Virgin Islands sounds like pure paradise, until you peek at the price tag. The cost of living here is 20 to 30% higher than on the mainland United States, largely due to import reliance. Almost everything, from groceries to gas, has to be shipped in. Simple carton of milk might set you back $7 to $9, and monthly utility bills can soar past $300, especially with heavy air conditioning use. Housing is another big hurdle. A modest one-bedroom apartment can easily cost between $1,500 to $2,000 per month, and purchasing a basic family home often starts around $300,000, climbing steeply for anything near the water. Healthcare is available but limited compared to the mainland. While the Virgin Islands boast public hospitals and private clinics, many residents still fly to Puerto Rico or Florida for specialized care. Health insurance can be expensive, and the choices are far fewer. Despite these challenges, many stay because the lifestyle, daily ocean views, tight-knit community, vibrant culture is priceless. Smart locals save money by shopping local markets, using solar panels, or even catching their own fish. Paradise is real here, but it comes with a premium, one that those who fall in love with the islands are usually more than willing to pay. If you enjoyed exploring these mind-blowing facts about the U.S. Virgin Islands, don't forget to hit that like button and share this video with fellow adventurers. Make sure to subscribe to Andy Explores the World for more incredible journeys to the most surprising places on Earth. We would love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and tell us which fact amazed you the most. If you have any secret destinations you want us to uncover next, let us know. Your ideas inspire our travels. Thanks for being part of our growing community. And remember, the world is full of wonders just waiting for you to explore.